I ended up getting the part was Joel pitched the idea because Joel's a big organic fight scene guy. So a lot of fight scenes that we do with actors and actresses are very much choreographed, and it's like a dance. And we just have to perform and act that all these punches and kicks are coming out of, we know it's coming, but we have to pretend like we don't know. And with Joel, he's more of a freestyle organic guy, and it gets very hard working with him, especially for like a stunt guy that may be smaller in stature or not as strong, because Joel's a tall guy and he's very strong. And Joel wanted more of an organic fight to make it look messy, because that's what he wanted. And he worked really well with me. So he wanted one of the heavy action scenes to be with me. So they casted me as Ruiz while I was out in Mexico. Me not knowing I was going to be Ruiz. They gave me the sides in my room. They're like, "Hey, John Woo wants to do an audition with you." And I was like, "What? What are you guys talking about?" And they're like, "Yeah, you have to meet him in the conference room in about 3 hours. Here's the sides that we want you to look at, and this is what we want. It's no dialogue, you know that. So it's all going to be facial expressions, body posture, and your physical acting." And once again, I'm not that type of level of actor yet. So I sat in my room for those 2.5, 3 hours, just practicing those sides, just sweating, super nervous. And then I had all my guys come out that were actors help me out in my room about the scenes and how they interpreted the scene. And it was pretty overwhelming. Then I go downstairs in a huge conference room, and there's one small table, and Mr. Wu's sitting there with his arms crossed like I am right now. And the sides, the board, storyboard right next to him. And Joel Kinnaman is sitting right next to him. And I had to do my audition in Mexico.
Okay. And that obviously, I imagine that was nerve-wracking, Yoko. Were you waiting long to hear the sort of response in terms of saying, yes, that's a go-ahead,
Well,
we're happy here?
Well, you know what? So I did the sides. As I was just doing the sides, everybody started gathering in, which made me even more nervous. So yeah, John Woo, Joel Kinnaman, sitting on a table in a big conference room, and I'm standing there in front of them with a storyboard right next to them. And as they're talking to me about the scene and what John wants, everyone starts walking in. Producers, my stunt guys, actors, everybody starts walking in. And I start sweating. I'm freaking out. And once again, I had to do it by myself. I didn't have somebody to work with, which helps you out because you're in the zone with another actor. You could portray those scenes much better, but it was just myself trying to do this scene. And I'm just going through it, just mindlessly, doing my best in my interpretation of what that particular scene was. And John literally just puts his head down with his arms crossed, and he starts like grunting a little bit. And I see Joel right next to him giving me the thumbs up, like, "You did really good." And John has his eyes closed. And it honestly felt like 10 minutes, but I think it was maybe like 40 seconds. He just sat there kind of grunting, making this weird noise. And Joel's like, it was quite a while. So Joel's like, so how do you do? What do you think? And he looks up and he's like, "Now we have to make him look Mexican." And that's how it all happened. It was just one of those, once in a lifetime memorable experiences.
Yeah, and it's amazing, Yoko. They mentioned, obviously, I imagine your Japanese sort of background. I may
Yeah.
be mistaking, well, obviously, oh, okay, Japanese sort of background to make that transition then to, say, a Mexican types, New
Which I
Mexico.
didn't have any idea how they were gonna do. But it was a multicultural gang. They had several different types of gangs or gang members that were, you know, darker in color, and even they were pitching more Peruvian type of guy for me. So once again, I think it worked as far as the fight scene and everything as well. I did the best I could with the given the situation. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those, crazy experiences that I don't think many people get in their lifetime.
And tell me, in terms of the character, maybe the backstory in terms of Ruiz, I know it's a fight scene that you're in, but let's say, is this guy a no good, or is there any bit of decency in him, or is there any bit of backstory to
So
go with him, or is he just your quintessential gang member?
yeah, so interesting thing is this the script had no dialogue.
Hmm.
So when you read the script, it was very interesting on how you portray each scene, kind of narrates what the character does and body motions, whatever. They didn't have any dialogue, so you have to kind of interpret it yourself. And Ruiz was the strong hand of Playa, the head gang member that Harold played.
Oh yeah.
He was the right hand man, the muscle, essentially. And what Ruiz was he was a I would say a mercenary type of killer, just cold blooded and very simple minded. Just taking orders, and he enjoyed having orders to kill people, and just very cold blooded, almost emotionless.
And Yoko, when you're sort of shooting on set, obviously as a stuntman, and maybe as sometimes people who do doubles or do double sort of work, you're never worried about facial expressions. But actors and actresses live and die by their sort of facial expressions, because they actually can't actually see themselves what the camera's looking in. There's no mirror for you to look back in, so you don't know what way your eyes, your nose are
Yeah,
twerking or going in terms of
100%.
that. And was that something that made you to sort of an adjustment? And was there one or two bits of advice that maybe John Woo gave you in terms of filming and setting, in terms of maybe showing those expressions of anger or rage, or in terms of
Yes,
that?
yes. You're right. For stuntmen, we do a lot of facial expressions in the sense that, like a fight scene, you make it look like you're hurt, or you're angry, you're trying to kill somebody. That's a lot of the facial expressions we portray. Doubles tend to hide their face, so they don't show the camera that they're actually a double in that particular scene. Now, for us, or at least for me, it was very hard to portray certain expressions or feelings that John Woo had asked me to do, because I think there's always interpretation that an actor can do versus a director, I think. And I was getting advice from Joel, and I was getting advice from a lot of people on how to act. And I think looking back at the whole experience, it's almost what you can give with what you have to make the director happy. You're not going to ever do exactly what the director wants, but I think what you feel natural doing is the best way to go about it, is because if you try to go out of your comfort zone, it almost looks fake.
Mm.
And that's kind of what I learned overall, is do the best in your boundaries that you feel comfortable with, to express those emotions.
Okay.
And when John Woo would give me those little moments of, hey, I want you to do this, I would interpret it in my way of how I would do it. And it ended up working out quite well.
Okay. And Yoko, in terms of the movie itself, Silent Night, and Joel's representation of the character, a man on a mission for the murder of his young son by rival gangs. And I know it starts off this family loving scene, and then everything goes wrong, and then we're into action and adrenaline, and dare I say, a crusade, a man on a mission. Is Joel a sort of action sort of sequence? Is he sort of playing out the sort of, is it remnants too of Michael J. White's fight scenes? Is it remnants to Jean-Claude Van Damme, Jason Statham? What ways does Joel bring across these sort of action type sort of sequences?
So you know what, Joel's more that I get to know Joel, and I've known him for several years now. He is an amazing actor, and he has his own interpretation of how he acts, and he's just an amazing actor. I've worked with many A-list actors, and I think Joel's one of the most underrated actors out there. And the way he portrayed the fight scene was that he wanted it really messy. Sometimes, you know, with John Woo and the Chinese actors, they go very, you know, wushu, very fancy, and it's almost unrealistic to some extent. And I think Joel wanted to portray just this civilized dad that maybe had a year of training to get his revenge. So he wanted these fight scenes to look really rugged and messy. And I give a lot of the credit to our boss, Jeremy Marinas. He was our fight coordinator that made all our scenes really dirty and intimate. And what I loved about John Woo was that he was very accepting of the new way to shoot scenes and incorporate those fight scenes and not stick to, you know, maybe like a Chinese wushu fight that he might have done years ago. He was okay with, you know, the almost the new John Wick style that Jeremy was a fight coordinator for John Wick. So he was very accepting on the way Jeremy was able to shoot some of these fight scenes, and John was very accepting of that style. And Joel really wanted that dirty looking fight scene, and I think we did achieve that.
Yeah. And Yoko, you mentioned there about before we came on air about another big blockbuster movie that's on our way just after the new year as well, which you're going to feature in. Can you enlighten us a tiny bit about that? What you might be able to tell us about it that you're allowed to tell?
Yeah, you know, I'm not allowed to tell much, but I did do a movie with Jason Statham. The movie's called Beekeeper. We shot that in London about a year and a half ago, and it'll be releasing January 12th. And it's another, you know, revenge type story. Yeah, and that's as much as I could really say, but yeah, it'll be a good movie. Jason Statham's an awesome actor, and he does an amazing job, and I think this movie will be a hit as well.
And Yoko, you mentioned there about working with A-list celebrities and actors and getting them ready for the movies and maybe fight sequences and fight scenes. Is there a difference to that in terms of female actresses compared to their male counterparts to say maybe a light, maybe 100, maybe 70, 80 kilo woman, maybe even lighter woman than that, and get her prepared for maybe an intense sort of fight sequence or action sequences? Is there more work involved in that, or does it differ between person to person, or do you look at it in a different sort? How does the dynamic sort of work in that, I wonder?
So I think we train all our actors and actresses the same, but we also do a good physical evaluation, meaning, hey, do you have any prior injuries? Do you have a lower back injury? We always do our research if the actor is method. If the actor is a method actor, we don't use words like choreography or something that's set and done. They want everything organic. So we won't use certain words for those actors or actresses. we want to see what their physical limitations are. So, you know, maybe some actor or an actress might not be as coordinated as some of the other ones, or they might be injury prone. So we evaluate, look at the particular actress and actor to see what our boundaries are and how hard we can go with them. Keanu Reeves, for instance, he's older. He's, you know, in his 50s, and his body's a little broken down, but he was so enthusiastic to train. He would train about 6, 7 months prior to the movie to get his body in shape and learn some choreography. And the fact that he was sore and banged up, I think it kind of resonated in the movie too a little bit, that he was always hurt, walking around, hobbling around, and still murdering thousands of people. So I think we train them all the same. And as our evaluation goes, we'll talk to our team and be like, okay, this is what he or she cannot do. Do not say this. This is at their limit. We will use a double for this, and we'll evaluate that within the training period that we have.
Okay. And Yoko, and just in terms of that, you mentioned training. Do you get them ready in terms of certain forms of weapons? Maybe I know, obviously,
100%.
gun.
Yes, 100%. So
Okay.
depending on the script and what we want to achieve, we'll, you know, do gun tactics if it's a heavy gun movie. If it's, you know, weapons movie, we'll train them how to do weapons. If it's MMA style, we'll do a lot of MMA work on the pads, the ground, jujitsu, so forth. For example, for the John Wick series, my bosses were having what we call now is gun fu, you know, using the gun and using a little bit of kung fu and aikido and judo to throw people around. So that was his specific way. For Joel, this Silent Night movie, we wanted it very dirty, so we incorporated a lot of MMA, but some like nastier things, groin punches, you know, elbows to the head or the back of the head, just you know, those nasty, intimate moments.
Okay. And Yoko, if I can turn it over to you now for the final 30 seconds, you might enlighten all our audience, our listeners and our viewers listening in to Silent Night out in our movie cinemas at the moment. Why should they go on to head to the cinema? Why should they go out, maybe get the popcorn, the Pepsi, head along with family, friends, loved ones, put their feet up in that recliner seat in the cinema, watch Silent Night? And what's in store for them, Yoko Hamamura?
You know, I think Silent Night is a very cinematic movie. I think John Woo took a big risk doing no dialogue, and it was beautifully filmed. He has amazing shots. He has great one-ers, a long fight scene that looks like one piece, but we cut it up in a couple pieces. He tells a beautiful story with no dialogue, and I thought that was very risky to do, but he did such an amazing job. It's very heartfelt. And the fight scenes, once the fight scenes start, it's nonstop action. And once it goes there, your eyes will be glued to the screen. So I do hope everyone appreciates how he filmed the movie, how he portrayed the no dialogue, the ambient noise that they use, the music that he chose to do, the slow motions that he chose to do, his old, you know, John Woo style slow motion action. I think everyone should watch Silent Night to appreciate the cinematic quality that he had for this film.
On that note, all that's left to say is from me, Jim Conlan. Thanks to our special guest this evening, Yoko Hamamura, who plays the role of Ruiz in Silent Night, alongside Joel Kinnaman, Catalina Sandio Moreno, Harold Torres, Kid Cudi, and Anthony Giletti in this John Woo action-packed blockbuster. And do check out as well Yoko Hamamura coming out later on in the new year, well, at the start of the new year, really, in The Beekeeper alongside Jason Statham. But it's all that's left for me to say this evening is from me, Jim Conlan, to you, Yoko Hamamura, out in Los Angeles. Stay safe, take care, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you very much.